What's up, everybody? It's the Digital World Podcast. As you can see here, the 30-year Treasury bond is now back down to 4.81. Down, it is down about 20 basis points from the recent local high. It's interesting because right now we've had a plethora of bad news that hit um, the news stations, right? Hear about downward job revisions that occurred to the tune of about 258,000 um, from the last 2 months, I believe, which is major, right? I think I read that this was the largest downward revision in a non-recession year. Well, I mean, so far, right? Since I believe the .com bubble, and you know, you see things like that, right? And usually it's the market has to be able to sniff if something's actually coming down the pipe, because if we're let's say the Fed does cut rates, right? Um, and the market has not felt or feel that we're going into that downturn, and it's more like inflationary pressures, which could be an up, a melt up. But anyways, it if the Fed were to cut rates without a justifiable reason to do so, right, and the economy or the market sniffs that out, what's going to happen is that long end of the yield curve is going to go up. And right now, a lot of people, you'll hear the narrative of oh, you better buy now, because once the Fed starts cutting, then rates are going to go back down to 3%, and the house is going to get 20% more expensive. And it's like those people who are spreading that narrative and the people who are believing it and are going into it, it's folks, here's the thing. If we do get low rates like that again, which I highly doubt, what that means is you're probably out of a job. The economy is probably going to be in shambles. Look at every time in history when the Fed does cut rates, what happens thereafter. Exactly. What happens is you're going to get an economic crisis that comes. Now, you look at Warren Buffett's um, cash as uh, compared to the size of his portfolio. It's reached 30%, which is the highest it's ever been, even higher than the .com and Great Financial Crisis. And I want you to tell me, do you think you're smarter and more intelligent and in the know about the markets than Warren Buffett and his team? What do they know? They have like 380, what was it, $1 million in cash or something, some crazy number like that. It might even be billion, but that sounds like a lot. But they have a lot of money that they have in cash that they're ready to deploy. And they've been slowly, well, I wouldn't say slowly, but they've been accumulating that pile of cash, right? That makes up about, like I said, 30% of their portfolio. So what do they know? Is something coming that's going to present an opportunity? And usually, so you look at the Warren Buffett indicator that shows the valuation of the market. It's at, near all, it's the second highest ever. And that's including the .com bubble. And so what that tells you is we have very high evaluations right now, right? Homes still averaging around that 6.7% for interest rate. And like I said, folks, when I look at this tells me, regardless of what is happening with the news cycle and the narratives, right? regardless of what that's saying or what they're wanting you to believe, what this tells me is we're not going down anytime soon. This just started. This trend, this uptrend in interest rates is just getting started. And it's going to keep going higher. So don't be fooled by the narratives put out there by the media. I think what you need to be paying attention to is the charts, the data. What is it telling you? Because I think right now that's imperative, right? It's really easy to get swept away by what someone else is telling you, and even including myself, right? Don't listen to what I'm saying. Go and do your research. Compare it. Compare the data. See what it tells you. Is it good? Is it accurate? Right? Does it align? Because a lot of people can try to sell you things, and you gotta ask yourself, who are they trying to sell that information on behalf of? Right? And who does that information benefit? So anyways, next point up here, new single-family homes for sale in the U.S. hits the highest level since November 2005. And what happened after that? 3 short years after that, maybe even 2 years, yeah, about 2 to 3. What happened? Well, you guessed it, right? The Great Financial Crisis. So, us reaching this level tells me we're close. It's hard to pinpoint. No one can ever get the top correctly, but you can see signs, and you know you're living in it. And sometimes it's hard to admit or come to the conclusion that you've peaked, right? And you think keep on going forever, but it can't, right? Inevitably, despite it taking longer, right? Some cycles take longer to play out than others. It will come down at some point. So that's what we got to be watching. It will come down at some point. So thank you for watching. Like and subscribe to the channel. It's the Digital World Podcast, and I'll see you in the next episode. Have a good one, everyone.